Out of all the biggest mistakes we notice when analyzing League of Legends gameplay, by far the biggest problem we see time and time again from players is the insane infatuation for their teammates. Now, this isn't your typical split-pushing guide or anything like that. You'll probably wish it was by the time we're through, though. We're not here to promote a strategy or tell you that one way of playing is better than any other. What we want to address is this weird phenomenon that we see players experience when they're actually playing the game. It's one thing to open up a SkillCapped guide, get every question in the decision trainer correct, and then you queue up to do the exact opposite of everything you've learned. This huge disconnect from out-of-game analysis and in-game decisions is something we'll be coining the love sickness for this guide. Strap in as we break down this illness further. Let's begin with one of the most common problems we notice from players' infatuation for their teammates, especially in low elo. Here we have a Jhin and his team who are doing quite well for themselves. After a great 3v3 fight in bot lane, they're in a prime position to secure the dragon. At first, things look good. If you follow our guides closely, you'll know that Jhin made a great decision to stay in lane to farm an extra wave rather than help his team. As we just saw, every opponent is either dead or in base, so there's no need to help with the dragon. But after pushing in the wave, Jhin then walks over to the dragon to do nothing. It was dead by the time he got there. This time wasted comes with a bit of heartache for Jhin. His recall was late, thus he gets back to lane just in time to watch the last enemy minion fall to his tower, causing him to miss an entire wave for no reason. This was a small but very clear example of the love sickness we'll be addressing. It's insanely damaging to your gameplay, as players have such a deep yearning to be with their team that they disregard why they're there at all. Zed and Swain were completely fine on their own. It may have looked close, but at some point you have to have faith that your mates can execute basic tasks on their own. How can they possibly grow if you're always there to catch them when they fall? Let's compare that previous Jhin to this following one, where an extremely similar situation developed. Just like before, Jhin is hard winning lane with his support. He's scoring multiple kills and is primed to carry the game. Being ahead by multiple kills and turret plates, Jhin is set to get a recall off to spend all his hard-earned gold. Wait a minute though, there might be action about to happen. The enemy Viego is low and out of position. Meanwhile, Jhin is in perfect position to not care at all and finish his recall. That's what we love to see. This is precisely the type of situation we enjoy covering at SkillCapped, as it can lead to some pretty divisive analysis. But first, let's see the results of Jhin's decision. He comes back to the fight with a big spike in items, and although he doesn't play things very well, he absolutely crushes the fight because of how strong he became. Looking back at his recalling moment, we should be clear that the answer to whether he should base here or not can vary drastically on so many factors. What elo you're in, your proficiency at your champion, your teammates' OP.GGs, what direction the wind is blowing, does today mark the winter solstice, etc. Everyone might have a different answer here. That's fine. The problem we have with a lot of players' decision making is that it's often based on feeling and a fear of letting their teammates down. But if I base here, my Zac might die on his own, and that would make him angry at me, and I'd be pinged, and I don't want to let him down. Maybe a bit exaggerated, but that's literally the reason most players follow through on bad plays. This may not be a problem for some of you, but the pressure of letting your teammates down and having their anger directed at you can be a real worry. It's not that staying and fighting is wrong, but you should have a genuine reason for doing so, rather than just feeling like you have to. You can easily argue that Jhin, Zac, and Maokai have a strong positional advantage in the river, as they're all in very close proximity to each other, whereas the enemy team has two very low members, while all four of them are quite scattered from each other. Even though they're down a player, Jhin could make the call that staying here and playing for positional advantage over the dragon is worth it. Why we like Jhin's actual decision so much, though, is that this guy's clearly a self-made crypto billionaire who parties every week and maintains a romantic relationship with all of our mothers and sisters. He saw action near him, doesn't care, recalls so his autos and spells do big damage, and proceeds to kill everything. Which, by the way, we're making lighthearted jokes about, but this is a basic fundamental we cover all the time. Fighting before spending your gold is something we urge you to avoid, and he didn't let love sickness for teammates prevent him from following through on that. What's frustrating is that you can easily tell when players make decisions entirely based on their attachment to their teammates. Let's move on over to this Kai'Sa replay to show you what we mean. Just like the previous two Jins, she is absolutely crushing this game. Most of her team is not performing very well, but thanks to a great bot lane fight, she's come out massively ahead and can carry this game if she plays properly. After the fight, she quickly secures the dragon as she moves towards mid to acquire even more farm. So far, everything is looking good. As she's walking back, seemingly preparing to recall to spend over 2,000 gold, out of the corner of her eye, she spots Graves. Luscious hair, bulging biceps, with a big pistol. He's over there all on his own, contesting the enemy jungle. We can't blame Kai'Sa here, as any sane person would be drawn over to help. Unfortunately for her though, Graves was being a complete idiot, dying a pointless, greedy death. And her collapse just puts her in range for his killers to turn their eyes towards her and eventually shut down her hopes of carrying the game. Do you see what we mean though? What possible reason is there for Kai'Sa to go over there? She's got a ton of gold to spend, the fight isn't even good, but her desire to be anywhere and everywhere her teammates go gets her killed in a really stupid way. It's frustrating because if you detach yourself entirely from the game and look at it from an outside perspective, it's obvious how bad her decision was. But the problem lies when you're actually in the game. It's your teammates who are the ones getting into trouble, and it'll be you who might get flamed if you don't help. That outside perspective is hard to keep when you're actually playing the game, but that's what we all need to work on. It's actually insane how many ridiculous decisions Skillcap sees regularly from lower elo players, and so many of them stem from this very same problem. A player's teammates are doing something wild, and so the player gets caught up in the stupidity and dies. Although League is a team-based game, you should try to operate as if it's a solo campaign more often than not. There are exceptions, of course, so let's cover a couple examples of when you should and shouldn't. 1, you should almost never help your team if it will harm you in the process. Much like how donating to your favorite streamer with whom you are totally besties with has absolutely zero benefit to you, the same holds true that helping your team generally doesn't provide much in return. They won't remember the time you went out of your way to ward for them, or fixed their wave, or helped while they were getting invaded. Simply put, don't simp for your team. The one constant in your games is yourself. Doing anything that doesn't directly benefit you is not worth it if you consistently want to climb. Something Sigma. But as we mentioned, we're not saying to never help though. Of course you should sometimes, as long as it doesn't bear any harm to yourself. In those cases, it's totally fine to help your mates out. For example, Kai'Sa along with her Galio have managed to crash a wave into Twitch and Yuumi early on in the lane phase. By crashing a wave, Kai'Sa has caused a bounce back slow push, and considering there's an incoming cannon wave on top of that, it'll take Twitch and Yuumi forever to push it back into her tower. This frees up Kai'Sa for a while to go off and do as she pleases without missing much farm. We won't gloss over her extreme indecisiveness, which wasted a lot of time in the river, but she's not causing herself any harm either. Thanks to her crash, she had time for all of that pacing around, on top of going all the way to mid to set up a good roam, and walk back to lane having missed almost zero farm in the process. Was this the best play possible? Maybe a recall timing was a more consistent approach to secure a lead. Was it executed properly? No, she didn't even know what she was doing half the time, evident by the river pacing. But she caused zero harm to herself in the process of helping her team, and that's the important takeaway. Now, there's one other time where holding hands with your teammates can come in clutch, and that's when you're in a completely hopeless situation. If you're in a deserted island and you see no way out and there's no possible way you can survive on your own, then of course you have no choice but to rely on the people around you. There's plenty of games that you'll find yourself in where everything is absolutely hopeless. You know the ones we're talking about? You've got an enchanter support and all they can do over and over is get hooked and die, taking you down with them. Not only is bot lane being completely destroyed, but everyone else on the blue team is suffering as well. Mid is losing a Seraphine, which is not what you want to see. Meanwhile, Shen and Talon seem to be the better power couple over Kennen and Rammus. If you're losing and can't do anything, and your teammates are losing and can't do anything, then there's no single player to play off of. A good bet in these types of cases is to hope you can randomly work together for a miracle comeback, and that's when random, thoughtless grouping can come in clutch, which is exactly what Lucian resorts to in this game. As he's pushing, he realizes that there is absolutely no way he'll be able to crash the wave into the enemy tower without being killed by the enemy Samira and Nautilus. So what does he do? He coin flip roams towards mid and hopes that he can make something happen, even though his wave is in a horrible spot. Although they don't secure a kill, this does provide a brief respite to the barrage of poke that Yone was enduring until now. And he himself realizes that he won't win this game on his own at this point, so he concedes his own mid wave and coin flip roams towards bottom. With Rammus here leading the charge, all 4 players converge and successfully score a shutdown together. Thanks for the moral support, Yone. This is a clear-cut example where everyone in the game had no choice but to work together to win, which you will need to be able to recognize when it comes to your own games. Hopefully our point is cringefully clear by now. We are in no way condemning strategical reasons to work together with your team, and there are plenty of moments that are appropriate for doing so. But the love sickness that is so prevalent in solo queue, not just from ADCs, but from every role, is painful to watch all the time. In our guides, if we ever ask, what should you do here? Everyone instantly knows the answer, but in an actual game, players will still default back to instinctively grouping for the dumbest of reasons. Being aware of the issue is the first step, and we urge you to try and be more cognizant of it in your own games. Whenever you're grouped, ask yourself, did I genuinely think this was a good play, or am I just here because my team is here? You may surprise yourself with the answer.
So you might be asking yourself, why go to SkillCapped.com to improve when I could just watch YouTube guides or play the game? Well, let me show you. Let's say you're an AD carry who's struggling to climb the ladder. Not only would you get over 55 site exclusive courses for AD carry, but maybe really what you've been struggling with is wave control in bot lane. Well, we got you covered with 6 different courses breaking down wave control as an AD carry. Not only do we have the largest catalog of guides for League of Legends in the entire world with over 1,500 videos to watch, but these are then curated by the top coaches and players into courses on every skill and topic you need to master in order to truly improve and climb the ladder. If all of this wasn't enough, we haven't even touched on our catalog of over 700 Smurf commentaries, where a challenger expert shows you how to climb out of your rank, and you're guaranteed to get any questions answered by them directly. Not to mention, we're the only service to offer a rank improvement guarantee. If you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using SkillCap, you can claim a refund, no questions asked. So what are you waiting for? Head to skillcapped.com and get the rank you've always wanted. Link in the description below.
In any case, that's it for this guide. As always, thanks for watching, and see you next time.